Okay, so make sure you've got your image map in front of you, and we're going to go through it, and then hopefully you'll have some time to make it look pretty at the end. So let's work out first what the word Renaissance means. It's a combination of Italian and French, and it sorts of translates as rebirth. But what it actually means is this big period of questioning that came about for a number of reasons, including the masses of deaths from the Black Death. So remember, a third of England had been killed, and roughly across Europe, a third to even a half of countries had suffered deaths from this. So people start questioning. Remember that they'd been told by the church that if they lived a good life and they prayed and they kept away from sin, that they would be fine. And then all these people are dying. And if you remember, in England, 3 archbishops, the top people in the English church at that time, died. So people are like, hold on a second. If you said, if we follow God's rules, we'll be okay, and you're dying, how does that make sense? But there isn't much in 1348 to 50 that they can really do about it. So people have started questioning it. We see this period of the Renaissance where they start rethinking about it, and we see it for a number of different reasons, and that's what we're going to explore. So if we go up to the top and look at how it starts. So this is Italy. It's a beautiful drawing of Italy. I'm just going to colour it in with my Italian flag. So Italy looks a little bit like a boot kicking a football. The football's Sicily. And it's in the Mediterranean, in sort of like the middle-ish of Europe, or in between Europe and Africa, and the Mediterranean period. So we now know Italy is one country, but actually at that time, it was lots of different sort of competitive warring states. So they had been warring, so fighting or in conflict, but they decided not to actually kill each other so much. So it becomes more sort of rivalry in who's going to be the best. The other important thing about Italy is that Rome's there, and Rome is where the Pope lives, and he is head of the Roman Catholic Church, and they'd spread under the Roman Empire and got really, really rich. Remember that for a little bit later on. The other thing about Italy is, as I said, its geographical location. So it's sort of midpoint between the west and the east. And it is a good place for trade to happen. So there's a good amount of money going through Italy and all the different Italian states. And people, after the Black Death, people have moved there who've got some good skills. So there's lots of people with both skills, the money around, and they've got some trade links to spread it. So we've got here our trade routes with a big bag of money is one of the reasons why they've got it. This all leads to massive competition. Between the states. So they don't want to fight anymore because that seems pointless, but instead they're going to try and outdo each other. They want to have the best buildings, they want to have the best art, they want to have the best literature. And they spend a lot of money, fashion, they spend a lot of money trying to show off. And one of the things we get is realistic art, which we should have seen from the video. And why realistic art is important is because they're really starting to study what men look like and what the world looks like. And they're sort of, again, adding into this challenge of this idea that the church has told them what to think. And they're starting to think for themselves. So before, it was very simplistic art, like my famous stick man. That's gone now. And now we've got our realistic art going on. And for people that know what this is, that's my realistic art, what they know this is my Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles, because a lot of the famous artists gave their name to the Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles. So, for example, we heard on the video Leonardo, Da Vinci, and Michelangelo. I think I'm spelling this wrong. Are the most famous. Michelangelo, yeah. But Donatello and Raphael are also really famous painters at this time. The other thing about realistic art and the invention of the printing press, this is my printing press, in 1436. So it wasn't a hand one. It was a big machine with movable numbers, but I'm not drawing that here. The realistic art, so artists were not artists, it's like doctors and scientists were dissecting things and getting artists to come in and really draw them in, and then they're able to print them. So then instead of everyone having to dissect a body, which was still quite frowned upon, people have got really realistic drawings of what the body looks like, really realistic drawings of these inventions, and then they can build on it. This has replaced the old way. So before the printing press, all the books were handwritten, and generally they're handwritten by monks. This is a monk. His job is dedicated to God, and they often only had time to learn how to write. They would write often in Latin, but they're writing all the books. So the churches had control of it, all the information. It took a long time. For example, it would take 3 years to write one Bible. It's a long time. So now this printing press is here. It means that ideas are spread a lot quicker, because you're not waiting for a monk to write it, and a lot cheaper, because if something takes 3 years to write, that's going to make it expensive. So now they can print these ideas, they can spread it around, and all of this means there's less censorship, less control by the church. That's going to be really important. So we'll just go back to the beginning and double check. So the Renaissance means rebirth, but actually we're talking about this questioning, this re-looking around at the world around us. It starts in Italy for a number of reasons, but mainly because they've got a lot of money, a bit of time on their hands, and they want to compete in. And remembering right in the centre is the Pope. The Roman Catholic Church was super rich, so they're helping to kickstart the competition. They've got some good trade routes, which is also giving them some money to be able to spend. This is all leading to massive competition. Part of the competition brings in this realistic art. We've got our Leonardo, Michelangelo, really famous artists, and their knowledge is going to spread. We get the printing press, which is actually created in Germany. It goes over to Italy because they've got time to do it. And this has replaced the really expensive and controlled way of keeping information from the church. So ideas are now spread quicker and cheaper. This means there's less censorship, less control of information by rich people. So what we get now is we get challenges to the authority. So we get challenges to the king and the feudal system. So challenges to the king and the feudal system, and challenges to the Pope. I'm going to pause there, and we're going to watch another. No, we're not. We're going to go up to the top, and then we'll pause. One of the other reasons why the Renaissance started when it did was because part of these trade routes had brought the idea of gunpowder back over. And a really famous city called Constantinople is sort of like attacked, and this with this giant cannon called the Imperial Cannon in 1453, and they finally break through these massive walls, and inside there, after a bit of pillaging and raping and murdering and all that kind of thing going on, they find this library full of these ancient scrolls of old ideas. So all the stuff we looked at in our medicine, Galen, Hippocrates, but also things like looking at the stars. It helps them work out how to build compasses, improve telescopes, all this kind of thing. So this old knowledge comes out, and it inspires people to start thinking a little bit differently. That all leads to another really important event of the Renaissance. So I am going to pause it now, and we're going to watch another video and come back to our notes.